Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will discuss about the induction of Rafale fighter planes in Indian Air Force. There is a lot of euphoria over arrival of 5 Rafale fighter planes in India today. This is the first batch among the 36 jets to be procured from France. These aircraft are arriving at a time when India is locked in a military face-off with China in Ladakh. A lot is being said about the advantages these fighter planes have. Some say induction of these planes will be a game changer vis-a-vis our adversaries like China and Pakistan. In the agenda today, we will try to understand what advantages these planes will bring to India. For this, we have with us retired Air Marshal Raghunath Nambiar, former Chief of Western Air Command. Air Marshal Nambiar, who retired in October last year, is an ace Mirage 2000 pilot and participated in the Kargil conflict of 1999. So who can be better than him to explain to our viewers what acquisition of Rafale fighters means? But before we start the discussion, let's have a look at this small report.
The first batch of 5 Rafale fighter jets finally arrived in India today, over 5 years after the deal for procurement of 36 such planes from France was announced. The fighter planes landed at Ambala Air Base in the afternoon, where these were given a ceremonial welcome showers. The planes took off from France on Monday and had a stopover in Dubai. From there, this flew to India. As the new fighter jets enter the Indian airspace, Sukhoi 30 MKI combat aircraft escorted this to the Ambala Air Base. The induction of these fighter planes come at a time when India is having a military face-off with China in Ladakh. The Rafale fighters have several advantages over the J-20 jets in use of the Chinese Air Force. Their induction in the Indian Air Force also corrects the imbalance which was in favor of Pakistan, as they have US-made F-16 fighters. Rafales can undertake reconnaissance missions, launch various kinds of attacks, and engage enemy jets in air-to-air combat, all guided by avionics system that conferred a significant advantage in modern warfare. What makes these fighters especially fearsome is that this can carry versatile missiles. An air-to-air meteor shot can be reportedly hit a moving target more than 120 km beyond a pilot's field of vision. However, amidst the euphoria related to arrival of the 5 Rafale jets, there are several aspects of concern which need to be addressed. The major one is that it took 5 years even after announcement of the deal for the 5 planes to arrive. The remaining 31 jets will take 7 more years to come, and even after that, the Indian Air Force's sanctioned strength of 42 squadrons will not be met. This issue can be addressed only when the government takes quick decision to procure the much-needed military assets and implements those with a sense of urgency, particularly since our adversaries, China and Pakistan, do not have good intentions. Bureau Report.
Let's welcome Air Marshal Nambiar to our program. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
So let me begin by asking, there is a lot of excitement and euphoria over arrival of Rafale. Why so?
Oh, it's the first aircraft arriving in the Indian shores after 18 years. The last aircraft which the Indian Air Force got was the Sukhoi. I don't consider the LCA as coming after the Sukhoi because it came before that. Therefore, after the Sukhoi 30 MKI was inducted in 2002, the Rafale is the next aircraft to come in. So obviously a whole generation of pilots have gone past, and we have a new pride in the Indian Air Force.
Some people say that Rafale is going to be a game changer vis-a-vis our adversaries like China and Pakistan. What do you think?
Obviously, yes, I agree with that. It changes the military balance of power in this region. Uh, Before the Rafale came in, we had a certain balance of power with our adversaries like Pakistan and China. Today, with the induction of the Rafale, 5 of them are already in and have landed at Ambala, and the remaining 31 will come in the next 2 years. We will have altered the military balance of power in this region. Our deterrence capability to prevent the enemy from thinking mischievously has increased.
So if we compare Rafale with the J-20 of China and F-16s used by Pakistan, what are the advantages Rafale has?
The Rafale has got a very good weapon package. It's got an excellent electronic warfare suite. It's got a very good bunch of sensors, the radar, the electronic, the thermal optic sights and everything else. And lastly, but most importantly, the aircraft is so well integrated that a single pilot is able to operate all these capabilities simultaneously and make sure that he wins.
So you have flown Mirage 2000s, which were considered the best combat aircrafts among the best rather. And but if we talk in the context of Balakot airstrike, at that time it was said that if we had Rafale, maybe we could have fired from long range and maybe we may not have needed to cross the LOC. What do you think? Is it a correct assessment?
No, I don't think so. We would have done what we did at Balakot. But what would have happened was on the next day, on the 27th, the Pakistani Air Force would not have got airborne to do what they are calling their Operation Swift Retort. They would have sat on the ground and just sort of not decided to fly that morning. That is the difference the Rafale would have made. The Rafale did not have been airborne even. The enemy would have stayed on the ground.
But if we talk about February 27, I think MiGs were better off than Sukhois. Is it correct or what?
No, not really. It was just, in life, if you are at the right place at the right time, you get an opportunity. If the Sukhoi was there, it would have done better than what Wing Commander Abhinandan did. In the melee, we are aware that Wing Commander Abhinandan got shot down and also an F-16 was down. So it just so happened coincidentally that the Sukhoi was not at the right time at the right place to achieve what it was to do. I do believe the Sukhoi is far superior to the Bison, and comparing it would be like comparing chalk and cheese.
Because some experts say that Sukhoi doesn't have that much of stealth because it's heavy compared to MiGs. Or is it true?
Yeah, it's a big aircraft. It's not designed towards stealth, but it has its own unique capabilities. Now that we have the Rafale would be our lead element, and the Rafale would be responsible for making sure that the enemy's front door is broken open. And once that is done, once we suppress his air defense capability, every other aircraft of the Indian Air Force will be airborne to pound him to pieces. That is the concept of war. But we have to get the front door open, to break it open. And that's where a very good aircraft of the Rafale class is important to us.
And tell me one more thing, sir. Many people are wondering, why Ambala? Why to be stationed at Ambala?
Ambala is not in the frontline basis of the country, in the sense it is not at the border. It is fairly well removed. And therefore, because of its location in depth in our hinterland, it is that much more inaccessible to the enemy if we were to try and attack us. Ambala is that much further from the border. We have a large amount of air defense protection in and around Ambala and around the airfields which are up ahead. Therefore, Ambala was selected. Moreover, Ambala is the first air base of the Indian Air Force. I'm talking of the independent Indian Air Force. It is the first air base. And Ambala has always been having aircraft which are very highly capable within its boundary wall. In 1979, the Jaguar aircraft, when it was procured, it was a path-breaking aircraft, something akin to what the Rafale is today. It flew into Ambala in 1979. And since then, it was the lead aircraft of the Indian Air Force in the strike role for quite some time, till the Mirages were inducted in 1985. As recently, if I recollect, the Bison 2 was the first Bison squadron, that is 3 squadron, was also inducted into Ambala. Ambala is, as you are aware, in Haryana and very close to Chandigarh. Very good flying environment, excellent infrastructure, and a very valuable base for the Indian Air Force.
Okay, sir. Now, while we talk about Rafale coming in after so long, I remember I had tracked it because it has taken so many, in fact, years. In fact, if we talk about MMRCA tendering, which was started in 2007 for 126 planes, and then it never took off, and then finally we are getting Rafales after maybe 12-13 years after the first tenders were floated for the 2 aircraft. How do you see it?
It is a really worrisome prospect that an emergency procurement which started when our Prime Minister went to France in April or May 2015.
I covered that event, sir. I was there in France.
Yeah, if you remember, it was 5 years ago. And an emergency procurement has taken us 5 years to get 5 aircrafts. And we will get another 31 aircraft in the next 2 years. What it effectively means is that it's taken us 7 years to get 36 aircraft by emergency procurement. I'm sure this is very worrying to not only me, but to all our Indian citizens. I think this is time that we ponder over where are we going wrong in our procurement process, that is taking us so long to get something of an emergency nature. Now, coincidentally, these aircrafts arrive in India at a time when we are being threatened by our northern enemies.
Yeah.
Our borders there are at the moment hot. And there has been a lot of, difficult times that we are facing there because of the threat from China. And also at the same time, our friends across on the western side are also acting a bit funny. So I do think that we are lucky that 5 years at the correct time, these aircraft have come to our sky, and it builds to our deterrence capability. As far as the procurement of the MMRCA was concerned, I honestly believe we didn't have the money. As was admitted by our Defence Minister, Sri A.K. Antony, he simply didn't have the money in April 2014, in February 2014, just before the elections were about to be
But sir, if I may intercept you, in 2012, the L1 was finalized, Rafale was finalized, and there was that it was like 18 will be bought in flyaway conditions.
That's
the rest
right.
will be manufactured here. But why not?
108.
Why not even those 18? That deal was not finalized. People are questioning what happened to that after that.
I'll tell you what happened to that.
It failed at the contract level, I guess.
It failed at the contract level because the sort of money required and the sort of fight which is going on between the manufacturer of the aircraft, Dassault, and the Indian manufacturing agency of the aircraft, HAL. It had become very vicious. HAL wanted more money. HAL are asking for another huge amount of manpower and infrastructure costs to be given to it to make the aircraft. And most importantly, HAL was refusing to take responsibility for the quality. The French, HAL, in fact, not only HAL, we also were very worried that the aircraft which would be produced by HAL would not be warranted by the French people, because they rightly said that if an aircraft is manufactured by HAL, HAL should be responsible for its product, rather than they themselves. So in all these things, I think it was such a murky thing. There was just no way that we could have bought a Rafale from that program of procurement. Fortunately for us, the elections were what they were, and a new government came into power, and the decision was taken to cut loose our losses and restart a new program which would get us something. 5 years later, we have with us 5 Rafales and another 31 to follow.
So if we talk in hindsight, if in 2012, if the deal became murkier, or the talks went murkier, or there was a mess about the discussions, could we not have maybe amended the agreement? Maybe bought maybe 10, or maybe gone for emergency procurement? Because I remember I had done a story about this long back. about IAF, Air Force, saying that we are working in a depleted condition. After, against the sanctioned 42 squadrons, we have only 35. It was, I think, 2013. So even in those conditions, we shouldn't we have gone for some emergency buying procurement rather than going around and around?
Look, this is a public procurement, and 58,000 crores is the sort of money which has been spent on the 36 aircraft. You can well imagine what would have been the cost of acquisition of the total package of 126 aircraft.
No, I'm saying maybe gone for a truncated deal, maybe for 10 aircraft.
No, look, our defense procurement procedures are written in stone. They specify what exactly we are supposed to do. Once the request for proposal is issued as to what we want, we cannot sort of pull it out and change the numbers. That would look malified and malicious in nature. And there would have been allegations of corruption from every quarter. And therefore, the procedures are very, very stringent and strict. And as you are well aware, we are more bothered about the procedure than about the product which we get. And in this process, we would have wasted a lot of more time if we were to amend that existing negotiation. And therefore, rightly so, the negotiations were terminated. And we started off with a new slate with clear mandate that we were to get an aircraft which would be equal to or better than what was on offer and lower in cost than what was on offer. That was the joint statement by the Prime Minister of India and the President of France, Mr. Hollande. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If the MMRCA deal was scrapped, maybe we should have gone for government-to-government procurement.
That's what we did.
No, that's the new government did, not the earlier government. I mean, 2012 to 2014, the previous government was in place.
No, I won't get into the politics of it, whether you...
No, I'm not talking about politics.
I'm saying Indian Air Force aircraft. It's an Indian Air Force aircraft. It's an Indian Air Force procurement. The previous government had struggled with the negotiations till 2014, February of 2014.
Yeah.
And then the elections were around the corner. And after the change in government, the new government was apprised of the situation by the Indian Air Force. The Indian Air Force leadership explained to the new government, the new Defence Minister, Shri Manohar Parrikar, as to what exactly was the problem and where were we stuck. And therefore, they cut a way out of this conundrum to decide to go in for a new emergency procurement after scrapping the old one. And that was a mandatory requirement. You had to scrap it and then start off anew.
So considering the whole scenario, don't you think that there is a need to revisit our defense procurement system?
Absolutely. I'm fully with you on this subject. I do believe the defense procurement procedure has to be revamped. And what is being done today is only cosmetic cut and paste jobs to improve a system which requires to be looked at anew. We have to start off with a white paper and put pen to paper and ink out a policy which is fair, transparent and robust, and in a time-bound manner ensures that the Indian Air Force or any of the armed forces sister services get what they want quickly. Our intention being to make India more secure.
And why not also to maybe make it formalize the middleman system, maybe commission them, isn't it?
I guess these are also all sorts of ways in and out of all the system are being sort of brought about. But the timing is of essence. Whatever we do, it should be carried out in a time-bound manner with penalties and accountabilities for people who delay a process. Unless we do that, it doesn't matter whether we have middlemen or we don't have middlemen. Nothing will help you unless we are very clear on what we want to achieve and at what time frame. An emergency procurement means something should happen as quickly as it possibly can. And a normal procurement should take not more than 2 to 3 to 4 years to realize. Here we have a situation in the MMRCA competition. The AON or the acceptance of necessity was granted in 2001. The competition started in 2007 with an RFP being issued. In 2011, the envelopes were opened. And in 2014, everything was closed. Now, we realized nothing at the end of this huge exercise in futility. And therefore, I do feel we have to have very specific, time-bound, accountable transparent procedures which will call into question anybody who delays it and penalizes them for their failures. Unless we do this, we will never achieve what we set out to do, and in time.
So we are running out of time. One last question I want to ask you about, because I have noticed so many deals have been scrapped, defense deals, just because there is some allegation of kickbacks or something. What do you say? It's very unfortunate, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the kickbacks are generally being, put out against middlemen, and then the whole process gets vitiated. There are allegations, there are counter allegations. This is a very murky world, and I don't think it is something which we can sort of, wash away or, put it under the carpet. There are all allegations, and they have to be investigated thoroughly, and they have to be proven or disproven. After all, this is a huge procurement and in the public domain. This is taxpayers' money which is being spent, and these sort of oversight and sort of scrutiny are essential. We have the CAG which is responsible to do this after the contract is over. And in the case of the emergency procurement, despite it being an emergency procurement, despite it being a government-to-government deal, there were huge allegations which came to forth, especially during the election year. And starting from 2016, it carried on till about 2019. The Gujarat election was the start of this, and it finally finished only in 2019 when our government was re-elected successfully. There was a lot of mudslinging around, and I think so everybody is aware of how it went up and down. The CAG looked into all these allegations. It clearly said that there was nothing wrong, and there was a better price realized in 2016 than what was on the table on 2014. That was clearly brought out. In addition to that, the Supreme Court has heard stories from both sides, both parties, and has clearly brought out that there was nothing wrong. It has given us a clean check to the government. I think that's, I don't think we should question our Supreme Court, which is the top of everything.
But still the allegations are still there. Even Congress today are still asking the same questions. But I think
I guess that is politics in a free democracy like us. We have to have freedom of speech. It allows anyone to say anything, and probably that's the way we want to be, isn't it?
But maybe for the nation's sake, we need some bold decision making, particularly in the defense area.
Absolutely. I think that's essential. 7 years to get 36 aircraft, I think, is a little on the higher side.
Thank you so much for participating in the debate, sir. This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow with another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.